My name is Chuck Shipan, and I'm a professor here at the University of Michigan in the Department of Political Science. The class that I teach at the introductory level is Introduction to American Politics, or Political Science 111. I also teach a number of other courses in political science. I'm originally from Chicago and still love going back there whenever I can. I do have family back there still. The way I got to Michigan is in a bit of a roundabout way, but my first job was teaching at the University of Iowa. And I taught there for several years. And then I got a postdoc position at the School of Public Health here at Michigan. So I came to Michigan for 2 years. Then we went back to the University of Iowa, where I taught for several more years. But always knew that if a position opened up at the University of Michigan, this is where I wanted to be. Fortunately, a position did open up here, and I interviewed for the job and got it. So I've been here at the university since 2006. I came to political science in a bit of a roundabout way. As an undergraduate, I actually majored in chemistry. But toward the end of that, I realized that I didn't really want a career as a chemist. And I had to finish the major because I was toward the end of my time in college. But I started taking other courses that were interesting to me. And those ended up being mostly in the area of the social sciences, and including political science. Then after I graduated from college, I worked in Chicago for a few more years. And while I was working there, I was fortunate enough that I was working at a company that would pay for me to take night classes. And so I took night classes, and what I kept coming back to is the things that I was interested in had to do with politics and about government and with public policy. And so I took those courses, and then with the encouragement of one of the professors of one of those courses, I ended up applying to graduate school. And that's how I got into political science. What excites me most about teaching political science, and especially teaching 111, the introductory course, which is probably my favorite one to teach, is that it's a way to explore with students a systematic way of thinking about politics. This is political science. It's not the study of politics. Okay? What do I mean by that? Everybody has opinions about politics, about different politicians, about the way the system works, about public policies, and that's great. You should all have those opinions. You should talk to friends about them. You can come and talk to me about them in office hours. But that's not exactly what political science is about. What political science is about thinking about things that are going on in politics and doing so in a systematic, analytical, and objective way. And that's what I try to do more than anything else in Political Science 111, is I try to give people these set of tools for thinking about things that are happening in politics. My goal is never to tell students, here's what you should think about this issue. My goal is to say, here's this issue. How can we think about it? Here's a set of tools for doing that. Within the Political Science 111 course, the Introduction to American Politics course, the area that I like talking about most is Congress and the president, separately and together. That's the center of American politics. And it's changed over time, over which of those institutions has more power. And so what we'll do is we'll explore all sorts of different things that happen, but they often touch back to these issues of Congress and the president. One thing that I think students might find surprising about 111 is that it's not me standing up in front of class lecturing the full time. I used to do that. I used to think that that was the best way to do it. But I don't think it is anymore. And here's why. Michigan students are smart, they're thoughtful, and they're very good at having discussions about different topics that we bring up. So what I regularly do in my course is I'll carve out several times during a course where I'll raise an issue, and I'll ask students to talk to other students around them. And what I know I'm going to get from it is a variety of opinions about how the process is working. And I'm going to get students who are willing to share those opinions, and everybody learns something from that. The students who come up with the position in the first place learn from talking to their neighbors. Other students in the class have had similar discussions, but might have come at it from a different angle, and so they hear what the other students are saying, and I learn something from it because students come up with different approaches and angles that I haven't thought of. So that's, I think, something that, you know, you're going into a big class that's a big lecture. Maybe you should just sit back and take notes, but there's some of that, but that's not the main thing that goes on in class. I would first argue that students will be able to understand almost anything that goes on in politics better as a result of having taken this class. They'll understand better how to think about public opinion polls, or what role interest groups play in the system, or whether federalism produces certain sorts of policy outcomes. The thing, though, that I think students will most get out of it, and the thing that I like to focus on a lot, is the role of the president. In particular, in the US, we've changed over time from being more Congress-centered to being more president-centered. And so one of the things that's gonna happen a lot with the new Trump administration is Donald Trump will take all sorts of actions, and people will ask, can he do that? Is that standard? Is that something presidents have done before? And that's what we'll look at. So we'll look at the things Donald Trump is doing right now, and we'll say, did Joe Biden do similar sorts of things? What about Trump before that, or Obama before that, or Bush before that? And so basically what we'll be trying to do is understand, is Donald Trump doing things different from earlier presidents, or is he doing pretty much the same things, maybe with a different style, but things presidents have always done? Let me give you two examples of that. One example has to do with the use of something called executive orders, where presidents just tell others in the government what to do. Donald Trump does a lot of that. Okay, fair enough. How does that compare to what Joe Biden did, or to what presidents who came before that did? Okay, that's really useful to know because it puts things in context. The second thing, and it's kind of related, is Donald Trump takes an approach towards staffing the agency, which is he often puts in place a lot of people who are called acting executives. Okay, did other presidents do this? Does Donald Trump do it more than they did? And so basically anything any president is doing, we can understand better by looking at what previous presidents have done and seeing whether there's a trend. We can do that with Donald Trump since he's president now. If I were teaching this course 2 years ago, we would do the same thing with Joe Biden. My hope is that what students get more than anything else out of this class is an appreciation for having tools that let us think systematically about politics. Politics is everywhere, okay? It takes place at the national level in Washington, D.C., but it takes place in the states, it takes place in cities, it takes place at universities. And so what we're doing in this class is learning to think analytically about these sorts of topics, okay? And it can be any sort of topic in politics. And what I want students to get out of this class is a way to see that something is happening and then step back from it a little bit and think, let's think about this systematically. And I think Political Science 111, along with a lot of the other courses that students take here, it'll give them that set of tools.